Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our Energies and Opportunities call.
Hi, we're so happy you're here. We're broadcasting today, the 26th of August, 2023, and we'll be looking at a bit of the energies of the remaining month of August, and then we're going to take a whole overview of the upcoming month of September. And the energies, the way they're moving in this time that we're in right now, late August and all through September, are really catalyzing some shifts and changes that we're going to see manifesting when we've got eclipses coming in October. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a broad outlook there. Anyway, in today's broadcast, we're going to be looking at the significant energies as we see them throughout that time, both through astrology and also through human design. So we bring both of our perspectives together, and we find that combining these two awareness tools really just adds a lot of benefit to our lives. So we hope it's beneficial to you too. And before we launch into our report for you today, just to give you a heads up, our Evolutionary Human Design News of the Month is we have a promotion. It's something that we do every year, but this year it's changed. It's been improved. What it is our human design training system and series. Sorry, it is our system of training, but it's a human design training series, and it's a deep dive into all the elements of human design laid out in a way that's so easy to understand and to follow. We really take it step by step. And then we've expanded the program this year to give you more time to get personal guidance from Shatan. So when you're learning human design with us, you're coming to bi-weekly online seminars with Shatan in a small group setting where you can put up your charts and have him take a look and give you feedback, answer any questions from the material you're studying. So it's a wonderful opportunity to have access to his wisdom for all of those weeks, 9 months. And then we've also added a totally no-brainer payment plan. So for anyone who has difficulty just investing in the program for the year-long fee, we've made a payment plan that'll make it really easy. Pretty much anybody could do this payment plan. So if you want to study human design, you want to learn it, we'd love you to come study with us. Take a look at it. You can go to our website, evolutionaryhumandesign.com/trainings, or just go to the drop down menu that says trainings, and you'll see the human design training there. Just click the tab and it'll tell you all about it. Okay, so anything you want to add to that?
No, it's a great training, and we have people from all over the world come and join in on the training. And talking about all over the world, this time next month we will be in Europe. We're doing a training in Germany, in Berlin. So anyone that happens to be in the neighborhood, come check it out. You'll find details on our website. It's taking place on the 23rd and the 24th of September. It's our absolute favorite workshop. It's our experiential day. And when we say experiential, what we've found is that everybody has a direct experience of their human design. So it's one thing to have an intellectual understanding of it. It's another to have all kinds of other people's ideas about what human design is. But our training, this experiential workshop, is really extraordinary. So you're very much invited. Check it out and look forward to seeing you in Berlin, 23rd, 24th of September. Okay.
Exciting news. Yeah. Okay, so let's begin.
Well, a lot of planets are going backwards at the moment. I don't know what they're thinking of, but it's basically, from our perspective here on planet Earth, as we go on our little journey around the sun all the time, we're kind of spiraling through space. From our perspective, a lot of these other planets around us appear to be going in a retrograde or backwards motion. So Mercury is doing it, Venus is doing it, Jupiter's just about to do it, Saturn's doing it, Neptune's doing it, Pluto's doing it, and Chiron's doing it. So it's a lot of review time for all of us. And we might think, well, life is racing along, but you kind of look around the world and you'll see there's a lot of things that are kind of not moving so fast anymore.
Under consideration or reconsideration.
Yeah. Economies are slowing down, political systems are kind of thinking about what it is Earth they're up to, you know, religious systems are having all kinds of ideas about themselves. So yeah, it's a time of tremendous change, and for all of us as individuals, great opportunity to review what it is we're up to. What kind of meaning are we getting out of our life at the moment? Anyway, let's see what's up in the stars. Huh?
All right. Okay, so I'm going to go back a couple days. I'm going to go back to the 24th. We have a first quarter moon on the 24th of August, a couple of days ago. And that first quarter moon really gets the energy going for whatever the objectives are for the month, or the things that you want to experience or accomplish during the month. So we've had that kickoff back in the middle of August. And now at this first quarter moon, we get our first look at, all right, so how are we going to put this into motion? Maybe we have all these great ideas flowing. We've got this beautiful grand triangle in the sky with Uranus, with Pluto, with Mars. So lots of creative ideas really, really flowing. We do, as Shatian, as you pointed out, we have retrogrades going on. So not necessarily the best time to directly implement on all these new ideas. Because with Mercury retrograde and Venus still retrograde, the timing would be better about more mid to late September. But it's a great time to be getting the vision, getting a lot of clarity, doing review, and gathering the wisdom from that review and making some new decisions about the ways in which you choose to move forward. So then when the energy comes around later in September, you can be really intentional about what you're creating, and there's going to be energy with us to be creating the next thing we want to create in our lives. So this is the time to vision that, to go inside, to review, to get awareness of it, and then perhaps to plan some actions, but not really take action until at least mid-September. So that's a bit of what I have there. It's rather than going through a lot of the aspects, because I will mention that obviously the sun went into Virgo. That's an important thing to mention.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So August 23rd, that happened. On the same day, Mercury turned retrograde. So when the sun goes into Virgo, it leaves its 30-day transit through Leo, which is usually a time of a lot of socialization. It's summer party time. And it's also, Leo's about high creativity. So when we go into Virgo, as we now are, the energy is about consolidating from all that creativity, learning from it, extracting from it what is of value, and then doing whatever we're going to do to implement them. So we have that as the background just in this last couple of days, and going into today, the day we're broadcasting, and coloring into the next several days, almost to the end of the month.
So from the human design perspective at this particular moment in time, we're just about to have a nodal shift. And what's been going on in these last few months is the North Node, the Destiny Path for Humanity, which is basically where humanity looks towards, has been in gateway number 3. And this is the gateway we call innovation. And it just happened that Pluto, as it goes very, very slowly in its orbit around us, has been in gate 60 for ages. It's going to be in there for ages still, because it takes this time. But gate 60 is the gate of limitations. And so what's happened with the node going in gateway number 3 is we've had this channel we call mutation for these last few months. And I think probably all of us have seen there's been some pretty dramatic rearrangements in our lives. Like some things we're definitely leaving behind, and some things we're totally opening up into goodness knows what's going to happen next, but it looks new and interesting. And so we're in absolutely the last moment of this particular setup at the moment, because the nodes are moving on into gateway number 42 in the North Node and 32 in the South Node. Gate 42 is the gateway of growth and increase. And it just happens to sit in this gateway all the way through January of next year. So there's a long spell where we have this 42nd gateway activated and the 32 activated. So if you happen to have the 53 or the 42 in your chart, you're going to see some action. You're going to see some, with the 53-42, there's going to be all kinds of new things opening up. New experiences are going to be possible. And we're both kind of saying, not a great time to dive headfirst into something necessarily, but definitely a time to have a good look at what's on offer at the moment. The other one, if you've got gateway number 54, which is the gate we call ambition, it's going to join up with the 32, the South Node destiny, and you're going to get that whole channel we call transformation, which is basically very entrepreneurial. So again, interesting energy to see. Is there something on the back burner that we can start moving towards the front burner now and start doing something really fun with it?
Yeah.
So that's literally the shift as I'm talking here. This is going on in this particular moment in time. We're going to recognize in these last couple of days of the month that Venus has been doing a retrograde motion for us. And Venus has everything to do with who and what we draw to us. What we find fascinating, where we find beauty, how we indulge in being bounteous in our life, if we will.
And our values. It's our values.
Yeah. So it's going retrograde and it's going to drop into gateway number 33 again. And this is the gateway of retreat. So it's definitely this thing of kind of going back inside, having a look. Retreat in its sense is being able to look at one's life, look at everything that's going along, and does it add up? Is there some kind of conclusion here? Do I have time to sit and meditate and really imbibe what it is that's been going on in my life? Does it hold a story? Does it hold a value? Do I see there's a full stop here, like something's complete and done? And so that is very much the energy with Venus at the moment. As I talk, the sun is going to go into gateway number 59 with the 5th line, and it enters up into this life theme we call spirit for the last couple of days of the month. Spirit is one of those places where, what can I say? The earth is going to be in gateway number 55. The sun is going to be in 59. It's really a great time of balancing the sacral with the sacred. So as we end up the month, I'd just say, it's a time of great fertility, great possibilities, but to see, am I balanced? Is there enough of me in my spiritual nature as there is in my earth nature? I mean, after all, we come to earth to have an earth experience. But the great thing is, don't forget about our spirit side while we're doing it. Okay, over to you.
All right. So I thought we'd look at the full moon, which
absolutely
comes up on August 30th. And, we see it in the backdrop of the planetary energies we've been talking about, the fact that Mercury's retrograding in Virgo. It started that on the 23rd, 24th. So it's fully into its retrograde by now. It's almost a third of the way through it. And during this time, right at the end of August and the beginning of September, the first several days of September, that Mercury retrograde motion is also going to be meeting with Jupiter in a triangle, kind of very flowing, positive energy aspect. And so all that's going to go on through deep into the first week of September. It's a great cycle for planning, like planning your next business expansion or your next personal or professional growth, idea or move that you want to make, that sort of thing. Getting really great ideas. Mars is pulling out of that. I was talking about that big grand triangle that was in the sky that's just moving such positive, entrepreneurial kind of energy and creativity. And Mars has just left that big triangle and has moved into Libra. It's a sign Mars is not strongest in, because Libra can be a bit indecisive and lazy. And, Mars wants to get on about it and get to doing things. So Mars can be a little disempowered there in Libra. Although it's a time when we can really tune into our artistic creativity, and it could be used well for that. So let's see. Oh, and I want to talk about the Venus retrograde also, just in light of, so we looked at it, we'll actually want to back up a bit to the point you were making about the nodes, because from the astrological standpoint, of course, the nodes also made a shift that was a couple months ago. the North Node went into Aries, which made the South Node in Libra. So we'll have that going on now for the next 18 months. From the astrological perspective, the overall journey of learning that we're all embarking upon right now is more into how is it that we really need to show up, assert ourselves, get things done. How do we need to take action in a world that's effective and positive, and that contributes, makes a contribution, and how do we balance the other side of that, the Libra side? How do we balance our personal life and our work life and all of that while doing it? And so it's the pursuit of that balance, but also the goal to achieve and accomplish. So we have that as a background.
Yeah.
And then all this time since July 22nd, 23rd, Venus has been retrograde in Leo, the sign of creativity. So it's just now, as we get to the end of August, beginning to slow down. It's retrograde. It's going to just start, crawling until the 3rd, 4th of September, when Venus will turn to direct motion at about 12 degrees of Leo. So when it does that, it's enjoying, and it has been enjoying, this triangle communication with Chiron, which is a planet of healing. So a lot of inner kind of healing work, perhaps around our values or our love relationships. The inner work that ideally we've been doing over the last 6 weeks comes to some point where we start to really see it. We can talk about it now. We can say what that journey has been and what we've learned from it. So that's what I see coming out of this full moon. Just illuminates what's been going on in the cycle. It illuminates it and brings it into full realization, full awareness. So I think we're looking at what steps. All right, so we've got a vision, but what steps do we need to take to bring that vision into expression? And as we said, not quite time yet, but we're getting close, because by mid-September, it'll be time to take action.
So just capping in on that full moon that's happening on the 30th.
Yes.
And from the human design perspective, this takes place in gateway number 37. And those of you familiar with the human design chart, you'll know if something's in the 37 and it's opposite something else, it's going to be in 40, and that's going to make up this whole channel, the community channel, the 4037. So Sun in gateway number 40, which I see as very much a gateway of independence, reliability. I'm going to do my thing, and then I'm going to take time out. But it makes part of the community, and the full moon in gateway number 37, which is all about the family, and what does the family need and require, and how does that get its support? So this full moon is taking place in the second line of the 37. I'm just going to read to you what's written there. The line is called being self-sufficient, something quite reliable in that word. Achievements are enhanced through synergy. And it's saying, you endorse personal responsibility as the foundation for a community's strength. And what I sense with this full moon is it's just really highlighting what's our contribution here. How do we contribute to our community, to our family, to our business, to our work, to society, to the world generally? And the full moon is really kind of aligning us with that whole thing. Where are we in all of this? Do we have family? Do we have people that we support? Do we have the support we need in life? Are we open to it? And so the key word here is synergy, is, how does everything dovetail together so we give and receive the greatest support possible for the community and the world around us? So precious full moon.
Yeah, a lot's possible with that full moon.
As we enter into the merry month of September, all of these planets are retrograde. It's just, it's a great time to review. And as we go into the month of September, the sun is in gateway number 40. And as a result, we are in this whole life theme we call planning. What are we planning for? And it's a great time to consider, okay, if everything's going backwards, or I'm having this opportunity to review, what are the things I'd like to see come out of this? When we get to the 2nd of September, the sun goes into the 40 with the 5th line, and we enter into this theme we call migration. And migration is one of these things of recognizing it involves the community channel. And the community channel very much, you know, who's with you, who's not, where does it all go? And migration gives us that opportunity to see, am I in the surroundings that really work well for me? Am I in the society or the family? You know, the full moon has just really highlighted how important it is to give and receive support in the world, in your life. And so what's happening with migration is just saying, you know, maybe time's up for this particular community, or maybe time's up for this particular job or this particular commitment. And it may be time to move on and do something different. So it's a very interesting time, this beginning of the month of September, just to see maybe something else is calling to me at the moment, and time to make a move. Let's see.
Yeah, I would say time to make a move is very much what this 3rd quarter moon is about. As we come to September 6th, 3rd quarter moon is a time of, after having the full moon, big realization and you know, action, everything going into action. The 3rd quarter moon is kind of assessing the results of the action that's been taken, or some of the decisions that have been made, and you know, where are we now with this process? So it gets a little bit more objective at that stage of, you know, the creative cycle. But the other thing we have as a backdrop during this time is the planet Pluto, which is the planet of inner transformation, the process of letting go and releasing the old so that something new can get born, birth and, well, death and rebirth. So that cycle. So Pluto is catalyzing this deep transformation that's been going on in our world, that we've been watching with all of the major systems that have been the you know, the linchpins that have held society in place the way we've known it. So all that's starting to crumble. It's not working anymore. It's vibrationally out of alignment with the age of Aquarius, which is what we're entering now. So energetically, it doesn't fit anymore. So what's happening at this point, it's like a bit of a, not a make it or break it kind of point, but like a, you know, we'll do something or get off the pot, you know, I mean, you know, just get on with it. So it's the energy of let's move, let's get things going, let's get things catalyzed. Enough realization already, let's take action. So, and it's inspired action, because Uranus is trining with Pluto, Neptune is sextiling. There's this beautiful linking of the energy of all these outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So we really have a lot to play with at this time. But the 3rd quarter moon, this time of integration, you know, making things happen and integrating it all. I talked a little bit about Mars having gone into Libra. It is also, while Mars is in Libra, a good time to be strengthening our partnerships, or whether those be business partnerships or our personal relationships, but, you know, giving them some energy and yeah, strengthening them, and clarifying a lot of our choices, the choices we're making in our relationships, perhaps also the choices we're making around our financial life, because, you know, when we've got Libra involved, we're essentially looking at love and money. It's like interesting how those two are combined in the sign of Libra. So we have that going on. And then Mercury, you know, it's been moving retrograde. So again, not a great time to be initiating things, a better time to be backing up your computers and getting that oil change in your car and, you know, doing those kinds of things, or catching up with correspondence. And it's okay. It's an okay time to be envisioning and imagining and, you know, and even planning, but it's just not a great time to move forward with initiating a new project, not while Mercury's retrograde. So September 6th, we've still got another full week, a little bit more, before Mercury stops that retrograde motion. So again, great planning. We've got a beautiful aspect with Mercury and Jupiter, just opening pathways for new growth, so that, you know, those pathways open in a way that then our vision becomes clear as to what that new growth really is. So, you know, a lot of possibility, and, you know, creativity and movement. You know, it's a pregnant time. Venus moving very, very, very slowly, having just come out of its retrograde, a 6-week retrograde. So still reviewing and learning from that review. All right. Over to you.
So the full moon we talked about, very dramatic in terms of, you know, who's my community, who's my family, who are the people that give and receive support. And Venus does its turn, starts going direct again around the 3rd of September. At the same time, Jupiter goes into reverse. And so Venus does its turn in gateway number 33, which I talked about a little bit. It's the gate of retreat. It's kind of summating our experiences. You know, we kind of pull back a little bit and just see, how does it all add up? So great time to have a few quiet days, end of the month of August, beginning of the month of September. Jupiter does its turn in gateway number 2. So gateway number 2, I made a lot of fuss about it in the last years or so, because Uranus spent a long time in gateway number 2. And this is the gateway of receptivity. And what can I say about receptivity? It's like we're all kind of trying to work out what this life is all about, what the world's all about, what's going on here. And gateway number 2 can really clue us in very dramatically, very quickly, to a point where all of a sudden we know. We don't quite know how we know, but all of a sudden we just get it on some level. So just be aware of this in this particular time as the month of September opens up. Great opportunity to just kind of all of a sudden allow ourselves to be startled by, oh, I've always presumed things going this particular way, and now I've got a whole different perspective on it. So very, very powerful in that regard. On the 4th, the sun goes into gateway number 64, which is the gateway of, what can I say? It's the gateway of, I call it diverse possibilities. It's like anything is possible. And it's just basically saying, all right, we've come out of this possibility. We've looked at the possibility of planning, you know, what do we want to set up in our lives? We've gone through these 2 or 3 days of migration where we're just kind of realizing, am I done with whatever's happening here? Venus has done its turn in gateway number 33, which has given us, I won't say a dead stop, but an opportunity to really have a look at what's going on in our lives. And it's going forward again. And Jupiter has done the station to start going backwards, get from gateway number 2, where we're getting this sense of inner knowing. Now, you talked a little bit about Pluto, and Pluto, you know, really having a huge transformational effect on all the systems in the world. I am constantly reminded, you know, 250 years ago, when Pluto was in the same part of the sky relative to us as it is now, there was a whole American Revolution going on, you know, and you kind of look around in America at the moment and it's like, huh? You know, we got these kind of...
is there kind of another one happening?
Another one happening. It's like nobody wants to toe the line. Nobody wants to play by the rules anymore. You know, and it's like the whole thing's up in the air. So just be aware of that, you know. Hopefully we're not going to have a political revolution, except, you know, a few politicians could bang their heads together and get a grip. But, you know, let's just hope what's happening this time as we enter into the Aquarian age you're talking about, we're having a consciousness revolution, you know, where the people get it. You know, we're moving into this age of personal responsibility. We don't need these politicians and priests and people so much anymore. You know, we don't need intermediaries to be able to organize our lives. So it's really, you know, signal moment in time for us to see things in a different light. Great time to review.
It is. And it's early days, you know, it's early days. It's just a, you know, this the very, very, very nascent beginning of a cycle that's over 2,000 years long. So we're just, you know, like a newborn. You know, moments after birth. I mean, really.
It's exciting, though.
Yes, yes. Well, very, yeah. Yes.
It's almost like anything is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, at the same time, all these old systems are crumbling.
Yeah.
There's been the breakdown, like you pointed out, of the American dream and how we all saw the American dream. Is it even possible anymore? What have we created? You know, are we creating the American nightmare?
America will come through it, that's for sure.
Yes, well, yeah, I do believe that. I think,
Yeah.
you know, if you look at the chart, the astrology chart of America, you know, it's a revolutionary country, but it also has this interesting juxtaposition of being very traditional in values at the same time. It's, you know, it's like an oxymoron. But yeah, hopefully we'll pull through this revolution and come through a transformation. And certainly we're poised for that energetically, as I was pointing out, the planet Pluto and the planet Uranus being in this harmonious triangle energy, that's just gonna be a backdrop for quite some time now.
Mm.
And then and the fact that Neptune plays into and favorably joins both of those. It's essentially what it's saying is, here's the new playbook, people. Here it is. You know, can you hear it? Can you hear the message? Can you slow down enough to take this message in? But you know, it's like the new templates being laid out for humanity, the very foundations of it. And so that's what I see with these beautiful aspects. And as we go through, you know, this part of the year, we have different planets moving into this big triangular energy that I'm talking about. So for instance, we had Mars. Mira was talking about the big Mars triangle with Pluto and Uranus. And then Mars moved on out of Virgo into Libra. Well, now we're just having a new moon on the 14th of September. And that new moon is at 22 degrees of Virgo. So it joins this big triangle with Pluto and Uranus. So now we've got, you know, a bunch of revolution going on, evolution going on, transformation going on in terms of our identity, our sense of purpose and direction and identity. So it's a big, you know, look deep kind of soul searching time, September 14th, and right around that date. Venus now begins to pick up a little speed. So, and Mercury is stationary direct. It'll be direct on the 15th, so the day after the 14th. So we have this new moon on the 14th, and then Mercury direct the next day. And Venus has been direct already for about a week. So Venus starting to move enough for us to have clear, you know, have made or come to some clear decisions based on all that inner reflection on our values and our finances. And so what are those new decisions that we've made? And now it's time to begin implementing them. And that goes along well with the fact that Mercury's now returning to direct motion also. So by the middle of the month, we start to have some energy moving in new directions, which by now we're going to be really ready for. So it's a powerful time. It's a catalytic time, I would say, this new moon. And it's, you know, it's setting us up for the two eclipses that are coming in October.
Well, you know, I spent a lot of time working with the I Ching over the years, and there are certain gates and lines when I see them, I just can't help myself, but I crack up laughing. You know, it's like, oh my goodness, you know, and there's going to be a new moon on this particular hexagram and line. And sure enough, you know, on the 14th of the month of September, the new moon takes place in gateway number 47, line 6. And whenever I see the 47 line 6, I see it in somebody's chart, I say, look, for one reason or another, you have put a booby trap in your chart. The booby trap is at some point in time in your life, you're going to realize you've got an extraordinarily brilliant mind that can make sense out of just about anything, including nonsense. But then so what? So what if you could make sense out of stuff? Because sooner or later, you know, another minute down the road and there's a whole other issue rolls up. So all of a sudden you totally worked out one thing, and then suddenly there's another thing in the mind. It's like there's no satisfaction in it. And so here it is. I'm going to say this is a point of realization for all of us in the middle of the month of this new moon. It's like all of a sudden we're going to go, huh? I thought I'd got it all figured out. And then realizing we don't actually have it figured out at all. So, and as Carola says, the very next day, Mercury does its turn. And it does its turn in gateway number 40. And I was saying about 40, it's part of the community channel, and it's taking this turn exactly opposite where the full moon was at the end of August. And so, again, it's kind of, you know, Mercury has a lot to do with how we communicate and think about stuff and, you know, the electronics that we have in our life and whether the car works properly or not, stuff like that. But it's like, we're all going to have a bit of a wake up in the middle of the month of September. You know, there's going to be this kind of realization, so what, you know, so what? I've been kind of going down a particular path of my life, and all I see, it's not substantial. And I have to have another review. I have to have another shift. If I can make sense out of just about anything in life, and I'm not getting satisfaction from it, then something has to shift. And so we're going to see towards the end of the month of September, certain things are going to open up for us to have another look at things. On the 15th, when Mercury does its turn, the sun is in gateway number 6, which is the gate of conflict resolution. It opens up this life theme that we call the Garden of Eden. And the Garden of Eden, it's a beautiful life theme, but it has its pitfalls as well. People who are born into this life theme, they come in from a very bright place into a very dense earth. And they have trouble dealing with Earth here. And every now and again, they kind of think they've found the garden again, you know, through a relationship, through some exciting thing that happens in their life. And then they realize it's not substantial and they're out of the garden again. And so, as I say, mid-month, we're all going to have this reshuffle. We're all going to have this sense of, let's have another look at things. And then, of course, you know, we come to the magical, what is it? The equinox or the solstice?
It's the autumnal equinox.
Equinox around the September the 22nd or so.
It's right. Well, it'll be September 22nd Pacific time, but most of the world's going to experience it on September 23rd.
Magical time of the year. What does it mean? The sun's right over the equator from our point of view, and so there's a complete balance there. And, you know, if we're living in the north, we're going to go into the winter season. If we're living in the south, we're going to go into the summer season. So it's a consequential moment in time. And I always see it as a kind of a bridge.
It's not, it's autumn. It would be the autumn season.
Yeah.
Right. No,
Fair
sorry, but it's autumn
Okay.
and spring, not summer.
All right. I mean, I see, you know, to me, I'm getting ready for winter once the solstice, or once this equinox has taken place in September. But, you know, I grew up in England.
Grew up in England.
Winter comes on very fast, you know.
It's still summer here in September.
Yes, of course, California. Of course, you know, they say about British people, you know, the moment they find a place where the sun shines, they never go back. So what do you see mid-month and after this new moon?
Well, after the new moon, of course, then we move to the first quarter moon. The same, so we have a first quarter moon on September 22nd, just at the very last degrees of 29 degrees of Sagittarius, as the sun is in 29 degrees of Virgo. So just after this first quarter moon, the sun leaves Virgo and goes into the sign of Libra, and that's what kicks off the autumn equinox. And the fall season. So that happens for most people, for most of the world, on the 23rd of September. And also we'll be back with you on the 23rd of September. That's the date we'll be doing our broadcast, September 23rd. But let's tell you a little bit about the closing week of September, and, you know, take a look at how you can make the best use of these energies, because the energy is really starting to move now. Especially the sun crossing over out of Virgo, going into the cardinal sign of Libra, which is to some extent about, you know, catalyzing and getting things moving and going. At the same time, Mercury has done its change. It's in direct motion now. It's beginning to pick up speed. So we're starting to feel like we can really move forward with those new ideas. And it can be a time of great communication, great a way to, share and collaborate with others, a time of high creativity. So, and there's a lot of innovation in the air around the same time, as Mars moves deeper into the sign of Libra, it's going to oppose Chiron. So I think what we'll see around that time, that'll be around the 24th of September. So in those few days around that time is some even new kind of surprising innovations coming out in the communication sector, which we've already been seeing that with Chat GPT, but I think we're going to see even more
Starlink.
Elegance in cohesion between all these different inventions and some sort of central understanding that's going to take us further in our technology. So we're seeing that energy really alive right now. Venus beginning to flow again. We should perhaps start feeling more ease with money flow. Whatever healing we've been doing in our relationships by now, we're reaping those benefits. We're perhaps being thankful that we've done that, even though it might have been hard work at the time. And Venus really gracing us with this linking energy with Mars, which just makes for nice romantic times and a lot of high creativity. So a lovely, lovely time as we enter in this equinox.
So from the human design perspective, when this equinox is taking place, the sun has moved into gateway number 46. Gateway 46 is the gate I call serendipity. Being in the right place, at the right time, with the magical quality, the right attitude.
And the right people.
Well, there's that too, but it's like you bring around the right people when you got the right attitude.
Sure.
To me, it's the magical agreement to life. Is all of us, we can find ourselves a little bit dull sometimes, taking things for granted, being in a rush, not having time for the extraordinary people in our lives. And 46, when the sun goes into the 46, it's a reminder, because it opens up this life theme that we call love, the vessel of love. And come the 25th, the sun goes into the 46 with the fifth line, which opens up the life theme of healing. This happens twice a year for about 4 days in total. And all I can say is, this equinox is a really magical time. It's a time to really embrace oneself, out of all the 64 hexagrams in the I Ching, the 46 is the only one I can really say is akin to the state of being lucky. Just think of it, life puts us in the right place at the right time, right? And if we got the right attitude, we're ready for whatever it is life wants to present to us. But if we kind of nose down and, our attitudes, well, I'm just kind of putting up with life, then how can the luck find us? So that's my viewing of it. And the greatest luck of all can happen is when we're healed and when we bring healing into our lives. Because all of us have something going on, something that's out of whack, out of balance. And it's just those magical few days where this healing can take place. And as Carola says, sometimes you have to go through a bit. You have to go through some heavy weather to actually get to that point where you're in a space to allow the healing to take place. So a very precious time, the equinox, and towards the end of the month of September.
Yeah. We'll have another full moon right at the end of the month. What is that? The 29th of September.
Yeah.
We'll have the full moon in Aries, opposite the sun in Libra. So that should bring some a real sparking of activity and energetic outflow. It's time for that anyway, the way that the energy's been moving. Mercury now, having moved further down into Virgo, moving into that big grand triangle I've been talking about with Pluto and with Uranus. Pluto in Capricorn, Uranus in Taurus, and Mercury in a very almost exact triangle, making for great flow with communication. It's a great time to be meeting new people, connecting with your group, the people that you relate with the most, finding your people, exploring your community, that sort of thing, expanding your community, expanding your network, your outreach in business as well. So a lot of high innovation also happening at the same time. And the high innovation that's going on is in the communication sector. So this should be a really good time to see some launches of interesting new technology. We're going to see some business and career kind of relationship shifts coming with Mars going into some challenging aspects later on this month, right at the end of the month. But you know, it's time to implement changes. So what that does is it just catalyzes the need to go ahead and put these changes in motion. So we'll get a little kick in the rear end right here at the end of the month to you know, just keep going with it, keep going with the new creation. So that's how I see the month ending up, on that note of there's a lot of great stuff happening, it's exciting, and get on board and let's get going.
I'm just going to touch a little bit on the full moon at the end of the month on the 29th. It falls in gateway number 17 and the third line. And gate 17 is the gate we call following, as in a logical progression of thought. One thought, one idea, one opinion follows another. So it turns out to be the gateway of opinions. And I would just say, you know, come the third line, which is where this full moon takes place. It's the line that's called selecting, appreciating the best influences for inner growth. How do we grow on the inside? When we're prepared to listen, when we're prepared to see life in a different way, where we're prepared to drop all kinds of old fossilized concepts, things that were never true in the first place, and be open up to new possibilities. So that is a sense of how the merry month of September draws to a close, and we'll be back, and we look forward to joining you again. Do we know what date we're going to be broadcasting next time?
We do, on the 23rd of September. That's a Saturday again, and we'll be delighted to welcome you back then.
Look forward to it. Bye for now.